and cheap thrills have undermined the artistic integrity of this medium. It's made games appear even more like toys for the immature and easily thrilled, confirming the suspicions of our critics. Perhaps our detractors would take games a little more seriously as an art if this wasn't the extent of gaming's artistic sexual exploration. I mean, come on. Really? Let me say something to the game industry. It's not that we don't appreciate this stuff. You're just giving your audience what it wants, and we'd be lying if we said we didn't enjoy it. But no one's going to take games seriously as an art form if this is all we do. It only makes us look shallow and, well, childish. We can do a lot more than this. But that leads us to another problem. Game developers have good reason to be very nervous about including sexual content in their games. I mean, you can't blame them. Legislators have been producing all sorts of bills to restrict the sales of games. Take-Two and Rockstar Games recently got their asses handed to them over the hot coffee mod for Grand Theft Auto. It lost them quite a lot of money, and most game makers don't have the cash to survive that kind of backlash. Even the sci-fi epic Mass Effect caused a huge fuss last year. I mean, Mass Effect! The game's a 30-hour-long sci-fi adventure that featured a brief sex scene, and not even an explicit one. Yet, somehow these 40 seconds of the game led certain news outlets to label Mass Effect a porn simulator that apparently featured full digital nudity and the most realistic sex acts ever conceived. I mean, clearly they'd never seen the game, but you'd see how drastic the reaction can be. Now, obviously, here in America, we're a little uptight about sex. This is especially evident when you look at the short list of games that have received the adults-only rating. I don't think any game's ever received an adults-only rating without strong sexual content. Like, ever. It seems no amount of violence can buy you this rating, unless you throw a healthy dose of sex into the mix. And it's not like sexual content is guaranteed to sell a game anyway. We're all familiar with the concept that sex sells, but sex doesn't sell games quite as well as we often think. Games that blatantly flaunt sexuality have generally seen surprisingly poor sales. And when a whole subset of games routinely fails to make money, you can bet that subset isn't going to be getting much more attention in the future. Games are a commercial art, after all. So, what can we do? What will it take to stop all these problems? Well, I think it's going to have to start with the game makers. Designers need to learn when and how to use sex, and I think film's a good place to look for inspiration. As James Potnell says, we can all think of a movie that was enhanced by the use of sexuality, where it was used to help tell the story or explore the characters. We can all think of a film that would simply have been patently worse if the filmmakers had been afraid to include sex. We must approach games in the same way. We must let the game dictate what is appropriate. Sex is seen as one of the defining characteristics of adulthood, and willingness to address it is one of the things that separates adults' entertainment from children's pastimes. If we're ever to cease being marginalized and correct the horrible misconceptions about our audience, our medium will have to embrace this part of our nature. One of the ways that games can start portraying sex in a respectful way is by exploring intimacy in relationships. Relationships create context for meaningful interaction between characters, and intimacy might be where respectful sexuality in games needs to begin. Leigh Alexander writes, "Games have, often accidentally, stumbled on real and affecting intimacy over their history. The subtle, charming poignancy of holding hands with Yorda and Ico far outdoes Mass Effect in that department. And I'm loath to overexpose the companion cube any further, but you get the idea. Games are able to create that sense of intimacy by revealing less, not more, and games lose dignity the more decadent cleavage shots and full-body pans they show. Now let me just say, I'm not saying there isn't a place for shallow sex appeal. Heck, film's a respected art, and you see shallow sex in film all the time. In fact, there's a fairly profitable genre of film that deals exclusively in that content. I understand they're doing quite well. But also, I don't think I'm saying that all games need to dive into sex either. We don't need that. Nor am I saying that games need to completely shift their focus to all things sexual. I'm just saying that games need to be freed to include sexuality where it belongs, without fear of societal reaction. Of course, this activity isn't just going to go unnoticed by society. There's definitely going to be a fuss at first. Pioneering developers are going to catch a lot of flack and get some nasty looks. Games are still a young medium, after all, and haven't developed the respectability of film, but that'll come with time. The more games venture into new territory and push the boundaries of public expectation, the less controversial each individual instance will become. In Potnell's words, we must not be ashamed of sex. We must be willing to use it when appropriate, so that it is no longer considered shocking and gratuitous. It's going to be a difficult road to artistic respect, but one of the first steps is addressing sex in a serious way. If we can show that we can portray sex without exploiting it, we can broaden the scope of game stories to include this core aspect of the human experience. This is going to be an essential step in games' growth as a medium. But you know, maybe I'm worrying over nothing. After all, games aren't going to be in the hot seat forever. Comic books, rap lyrics, jazz, violent Saturday cartoons, and Elvis's hips have all had their turn in the spotlight as the force corrupting society. Soon we'll have a new one. Probably something our kids come up with. And then you and I will have a difficult choice on our hands. Do we learn from past generations' mistakes, open our minds to the new phenomenon without silly paranoia? Or do we enjoy this opportunity to subject the new blood to the same shit we had to deal with at their age? I agree. I don't see any reason to let them off easy.
Yo, it's the Hip Hop Gamer Show. You already know what it is, man. I got my man Andy Carr right now with me. He's holding it down. And he's a pretty interesting, important person in this industry. Am I correct?
Please.
Oh man, he represents. What are your impressions on the PlayStation 3 Slim success going on right now?
Oh, I'm happy for it. I think it's good to have the competition out there. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've been a 360 person. I had my original Xbox and a 360. I never even had a PS2.
Whoa, you said, wow. Yeah. You're like the first person I know that didn't have one. Wow.
Well, you want to really freak out. I didn't even have a gaming console until I got my Xbox, and that wasn't until after I got married.
Oh, what? Alright, this is a very interesting gamers in the street right now, man. That's crazy. So, your wife allowed you to get an Xbox?
Yeah, she's the one that bought me my first Xbox.
Oh, that's hot.
That was about, like 8 years ago. We were just chilling. She's like, hey, why don't you go and get the Xbox? So, my parents were my parents never let me have a video game system or anything.
Wow. I couldn't live in your household. I would lose my mind.
Yeah, I played outside a lot, man. I played a lot of football. You know how street ball goes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But I started doing that. I started loving what I do. I decided to go to school for game design even. So I have a bachelor's in game design.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just gotta get on the bottom, put your dues in. That's how everything is, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. You gotta put in that work, man. But you do game design, so I know tons of people that, need that. So, your boy Hip Hop Gamer got you. That's why I got you on the show. We gotta help one another. You know what I'm saying? Use your connects, I use mine. You know what I'm saying? Make it work.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Alright, now let me ask you a question, because this right here is real critical to me. And since you're such a big WoW player and a WoW fan, I need to put this out there, right? Mm-hmm. If Warcraft, if WoW came to consoles, if it did, how would that affect the PC gaming market, in your opinion?
Wow, well, that's just a big wow. Honestly, I don't believe it ever could make it, but I don't think it would affect the PC market much, just because they're so different of players. You have your PC gamers and you have your console gamers.
Okay.
I think they're very segregated in that matter, but... You played WoW, man. Could you ever imagine a true MMO like that where you have to have crap, man. They made their own full keyboard, like the Z boards. Have you seen those things?
Those? They got them all over my job. No, they got those all over my job, so I know what you're talking about.
Those things are just crazy. It's like, there's no way you could put all those keys and all those functions
on a controller. Yeah.
It would never work. I don't think it would mess up PC gaming though, because like I said, they're very segregated communities. I don't think there's a whole lot of crossover personally.
Oh, okay.
You're a PC gamer or you're a console gamer. I mean, there's some, but it's very rare from what I've seen.
Okay, the reason why I had to ask this is because I feel that consoles is at a plateau that a lot of people have been waiting for. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We've been waiting to see all this multimedia, online gaming, and everything, and you just buy your console and that's it. And I feel that the expansion on 360 and PlayStation 3 has been so great that a game like WoW, if it was for whatever reason to ever hit consoles and be configured to work with consoles, if that had happened, then I believe it'll be a whole lot of sales of that game. I think that it'll actually bring in newcomers to the series, considering that it's on a console, and like you said, PC gamers and console gamers is kind of different in a way. So I think it'll bring new life to the whole World of Warcraft series. That, and the reason why I feel like that affect the PC market is because if consoles have what the PC got, then what do the PC have to call exclusive? You know what I'm saying? That always put a damper on, having something exclusive than going multi-platform.
Yeah, let's take a look at another genre that used to be exclusive to the PC then. Take a look at real-time strategies. They never work. I don't care what game you are. Halo Wars, I'm sorry, it didn't work for me. While the controls were okay, they were good, it still wasn't a real-time strategy game that I really could feel like I had a whole lot of control on.
Oh, okay.
If you try, I don't think you'll ever make that jump fully. I've played the MMOs on console. It doesn't work for me.
Wow. Alright, well that's real talk from my man Andy Carr. That's real talk. But I had to find out because, you know, obviously I don't play WoW. I don't even play real-time strategy games because to me, like real-time strategy games, I don't really like giving commands and then watching people do it. It's kind of like, you ever played or seen NFL head coach? Like, it's like you're a coach. I don't want to be a coach. I want to play. Like, you know what I'm saying? I want to have control of everything.